Well, in Indonesia, Navy divers have retrieved a black box from a plane that went down in the Java Sea, killing all 62 on board. It's not immediately clear whether the device was the plane's flight data or cockpit voice recorder. Local TV showed divers on an inflatable boat with a large white container to be handed over to the National Transportation Safety Committee. A Navy ship had picked up pings emitted by the Boeing 737-500's cockpit voice and flight data recorders. Officials say the devices have been buried under tons of sharp objects in the wreckage of the Airjet. A remotely operated vehicle has also been deployed.
I also asked Swearijaya to give full support to the hospitals and police, everything that they need.
More than 3,600 rescue personnel, as well as helicopters and ships, have joined the search in waters as deep as 23 metres. We'll keep you up to date on the latest developments in Indonesia during the program. As mass vaccination programs get underway in many parts of the world, they haven't yet had the effect of stemming the spread of COVID-19. And the situation is no different in Asia, where China today sent another city into lockdown. 4.9 million residents of Langfang in Hebei province have been ordered to stay at home for 7 days after the city reported 40 new cases. Meanwhile, the Japanese government is set to extend the state of emergency beyond the Tokyo region to include Osaka, Kyoto and Hyogo in the west in a bid to curb the spread of coronavirus. But Malaysia has had to take an even more drastic step. Earlier today, it declared a nationwide state of emergency for the first time since 1969, after recording more than 2,000 cases every day over the past week.
Let me assure you that the civilian government will continue to function. The emergency proclaimed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is not a military coup, and curfew will not be enforced.
Well, India has begun delivering the first batches of COVID-19 vaccines across the country ahead of a nationwide drive to inoculate 1.3 billion people. A prayer ceremony was held just before the first trucks carrying the Covishield vaccine left for Pune International Airport. Now, India, which is one of the world's biggest producers of vaccines and generic drugs, has also approved a homegrown vaccine called Covaxin, leading to some medical groups to raise concerns over its effectiveness. It's unclear where this vaccine will be distributed. More than 10.4 million cases of coronavirus have been reported in India, including over 150,000 deaths. Back home, a joint police and Queensland health investigation is continuing to work out exactly how a hotel quarantine cleaner contracted the highly contagious UK strain of COVID-19. The state recorded 3 new cases of coronavirus. 2 were overseas travellers in hotel quarantine, while the third was the cleaner's partner. The man tested positive late yesterday, and genome testing is underway to see if he has the B117 strain. Police are working to piece together how the cleaner contracted the virus, with officers combing through 4 days of security vision and the movements of a UK traveller in hotel quarantine who could have passed on the virus.
It will be an investigation that if we identify things that need to be improved in the system, that we will implement them immediately and keep you advised of what's happening with that.
Health authorities have warned the source of the breach may never be found. In the UK, mass vaccination centres may have opened, but the warnings remain stark. Officials say the nation's now going through the most dangerous time of the pandemic, and things will get worse before they get better. Despite the staggering death toll, the British government's struggling to enforce lockdown rules on a complacent public.
One after another, almost 2.5 million Brits have now received a COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, have you had your jab yet?
No, I'm
Okay.
waiting. I'm poised ready.
But even the opening of mass vaccination hubs, operating for 12 hours a day, will not turn the tide now. The worst is very much still to come.
The next few weeks are going to be the worst weeks of this pandemic in terms of numbers into the NHS. This is an appalling situation.
There are already 32,000 COVID-19 patients in British hospitals, a number that rose by 22% in just a week. During the last peak in April, it stood at 18,000.
And this new variant is really pushing things in a way that the old variant, which was already very bad, was not able to. So we have a very significant problem.
While Boris Johnson wants to promote his vaccination triumphs, it seems his message is being misconstrued by a public no longer as willing to follow the lockdown rules.
This is a very perilous moment because everybody can sense that the vaccine is coming in.
He knows the rules are being broken because the infection rate says so, but he won't toughen them just yet.
We're going to keep the rules under constant review. Where we have to tighten them, we will.
Up until now, the British government has not mandated the use of face masks outside. But given the current lockdown isn't working yet to bring the infection rate down, it is something being considered. The British Medical Association, for one, has been calling for it since October. But regardless of what steps are taken now, many thousands of lives will not be saved. Samantha Hawley, ABC News, London.
More than 300 rescuers are working to reach a group of trapped miners in China's Shandong province. At around 2 p.m, an explosion ripped through the gold mine, which was under construction in Shijia City. Officials say 22 people were working underground at the time. However, damage to the communication system has prevented rescuers from establishing contact with trapped workers so far. In the US, Democrats have begun their push to force President Donald Trump from office. They're accusing him of inciting insurrection in connection with the violent attack on the Capitol last week. Now, the FBI is warning that armed protests are being planned for later this week in Washington, D.C. and all 50 US state capitals. North America correspondent Catherine Diss has more.
Across the Capitol, each pillar of democracy behind a fortress, as the city prepares for the next assault. Shocking images continue to surface of last week's violent storming of Congress. This video shows a police officer dragged, kicked, punched, and even bashed with a pole flying the American flag. Democrats in the House of Representatives want Donald Trump gone. They've moved ahead with a resolution urging the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment, which can remove the President from office.
Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office.
But, as expected,
I object.
Objection is heard.
Republicans blocked the resolution, triggering a full vote on the House floor tomorrow.
President Trump is still in charge, and part of the reason why Congress is talking about impeachment right now is because he is not being helpful in trying to guarantee the security of the inauguration. In fact, he seems to be doing more harm than good.
It's an extraordinary threat. If Vice President Mike Pence doesn't act to remove Donald Trump from office within 24 hours, House Democrats will move to make him the first president in US history to be impeached twice. But any efforts to remove the president could create more trouble. The FBI has intelligence protesters are planning to storm 50 state capitals, including Washington, D.C., if Donald Trump's tenure is cut short. Police were unprepared for the first surge.
5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. Let's go.
But the National Guard is now in place and thousands more will be deployed. A deeply divided nation is again on high alert as it confronts another unprecedented moment in history. Catherine Diss, ABC News, Washington.
The acting Prime Minister has doubled down on his comparison of the storming of the US Capitol to the Black Lives Matter movement. Michael McCormack has angered human rights groups by arguing all lives matter. The opposition has taken aim at his decision not to criticise members of the government's backbench over their views on COVID-19. Here's political reporter Jade McMillan.
Facts can be murky, according to the acting Prime Minister. You might look out there and say the sky is blue, and I can see from here that it's grey, but if we go out from under this rotunda, there are probably blue patches. I mean, there are a lot of subjective things.
Michael McCormack has dismissed calls to force the removal of information contradicting official COVID-19 advice from the social media accounts of two of his colleagues, including a Facebook post from Liberal MP Craig Kelly claiming that forcing children to wear masks amounts to abuse.
Do you agree with that statement?
No, I don't.
And do you believe that he should take that Facebook post down?
Oh, it's a matter for Craig Kelly. Again, it's censorship. I'm not in favour of censorship.
Mr Kelly is standing by his comments, and the Health Minister opted not to directly criticise him either.
I would urge everyone to listen carefully to the advice of the Australian medical regulators and Australian government medical advisors.
I don't care if Craig Kelly's got 1 follower or 1,000 followers or 100,000 followers. When he engages in dangerous disinformation, it should be called out.
Labor has also condemned Mr McCormack for comparing last week's riots at the US Capitol to the Black Lives Matter movement, but he's refusing to back down, instead going further.
There are a lot of people out there who are being a bit bleeding hard about this and who are confecting outrage, but they should know that those lives matter too. All lives matter.
Human rights groups are demanding an apology from Mr McCormack, arguing his comments diminish the aim of the Black Lives Matter protests in the US and here in Australia to draw attention to racial injustice.
I would almost say that it's, apart from being offensive, it shows insensitivity or the lack of empathy about understanding your own country and its people, particularly its Aboriginal people.
Michael McCormack has behaved abominably. His statements are disgusting. He should show more leadership.
He's in the role of leader until Scott Morrison returns next week. Jade McMillan, ABC News, Canberra.
A newly declassified US national security document has revealed details of the Trump administration's strategy for the Indo-Pacific region. Speaking to 7:30, head of the National Security College at ANU, Professor Rory Medcalf, says the goals outlined in the report were very ambitious.
This strategy set a very, very high bar for American success in the Indo-Pacific, disarming North Korea, deterring China, investing in the region, unleashing American private investment, empowering democracies. So clearly, by some measures, the United States failed, and I think it's important to note that this strategy unrealistically called for American primacy in the Indo-Pacific, whereas I think the reality is that America simply being powerful and supportive of allies when it needs to be will be enough.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has detailed a wish list of new weapons, including more nuclear warheads and a nuclear-powered submarine. It comes just days before the new US president is sworn in. So how will the Biden administration engage with North Korea? I'm joined by Seoul correspondent for NK News, Jong-min Kim. Now, Jong-min, were you surprised by this detailed list of Kim Jong-un's?
I was surprised because many of the people who was watching North Korea closely, they weren't expecting such a big emphasis on military. They were actually waiting for North Korea to reveal the 5-year economic plan, which was surprisingly less detailed. They reverted back to the old hostile rhetoric, calling the United States the biggest main enemy, and said that hostile policy just does not change regardless of who's in the White House. And this was actually the implicit first response to Biden becoming the president-elect of the United States.
Well, can you tell us more about what message Kim Jong-un is trying to send to the incoming administration?
Basically, North Korea's message was that they already saw the United States, how they won't budge easily, that they won't waste time and energy anymore trying to reach out first. So that's why they were sharing this wish list. Basically, Kim is saying, so here's what we're going to do. We will hold on to our leverage and defense capability. You move first. So that's why probably they came up with this very long list of the things that they wanted to procure, like tactical nuclear weapons, 15,000-kilometer range ICBM, solid fuel propellant ICBM, and so on and so forth.
How seriously would the US be taking this weapons wish list, do you think?
Until now, it was pretty unclear what Biden administration's North Korea policy would be. But I should say that they better take this seriously, because if the United States simply just bides its time and wait, it will be much harder later on to negotiate with North Korea. Kim will likely conduct more weapons tests by then. And this means by the time Biden decides later on to reach out, Pyongyang would probably have greater leverage by the time. If he starts now, North Korea already developed its weapons capacity much more compared to when Trump-Kim diplomacy started, so it's already hard. So I'd say that disarming North Korea would be much difficult if Biden moves slower than we are hoping he would.
How would North Korea finance these ambitions, given the economy really is not doing very well at the moment due to the pandemic, natural disasters and the crippling sanctions imposed on the country, as Kim Jong-un acknowledged in his speech?
Exactly, that's an important point. They are sharing their hopes about what they want to procure in terms of military capacity. But like you said, Kim Jong-un admitted that the previous 5-year strategy failed in almost all sectors. And there's long-term disasters going on, like COVID-19 pandemic and the border closure, which led to multiple trade crashes last year. And it's going to probably continue. There were natural disasters and there are sanctions, like you said. And with North Korea not focusing on reach out to United States, it's unclear. It's almost impossible for North Korea to get rid of sanctions in the close future. So, like you said, it's unclear how they are going to finance that. I think that's why they are still leaving the door cracked open to the possibility of diplomacy. They said that the key to improving DPRK-US relations is for Washington to drop its hostile policy. It wasn't like North Korea saying that they won't be dealing with Washington anymore.
Well, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump met 3 times. Did they even come close to making a deal? And how close do you think Mr. Biden will come?
I think Hanoi was a very important opportunity that President Donald Trump missed. North Korea was actually, it seems, if we read Woodward's book, we can see that North Korea, to some extent, was serious about giving up Yangbyon. To Donald Trump's perspective, that wasn't a big enough of a deal, so it ended up with a no deal. But that just made North Korea just walk away from the dialogue table as a whole. So although it was pretty close to coming to something like a start of a denuclearization deal, not a complete denuclearization, that opportunity is missed. And now Biden administration has to deal with North Korea that has even more leverage than they did back in 2019, February in Hanoi.
Fascinating to talk to you. As always, Jong-min Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, returning to our top story, and a black box from an Indonesian plane that crashed into the Java Sea shortly after takeoff has been recovered. It's not immediately clear if the device was a plane's flight data or cockpit voice recorder, with local media showing Navy divers with a large white container. Officials say it will take several days to read the data, but that early indications are the jet was intact when it hit the water.
The impact was on one point or very localised. This shows that there was no explosion or crack before impact to the water, so there are no assumptions of in-flight breakup.
The device will help investigators determine what caused the Boeing 737-500 to nosedive into the ocean, killing all 62 passengers and crew. Severe snowstorms have battered parts of Japan, killing at least 8 people and injuring hundreds more. Many of the victims were buried while trying to clear snow from their rooftops. Defence personnel are assisting thousands of drivers stranded in their cars and distributing supplies to villages cut off in the heavy falls. Further snow warnings are in place for the northeast of Japan. Now, Prince Charles says businesses must put the planet and its people first as he launches a new charter of sustainability backed by major global companies. The new Terra Carta, evoking England's Magna Carta that defined citizens' rights 8 centuries ago, comprises nearly 100 actions that companies which sign up must take. The Bank of America, AstraZeneca, HSBC and BP are among the firms which have signed the pact.
Today must be the decisive moment that we make sustainability the growth story of our time, while positioning nature as the engine of our economy.
Now, reusable masks have become part of daily lives for many during the pandemic. Most masks have elastic ear loops. They've proved challenging for people who wear turbans and hijabs. Some innovative tailors have found a solution, and their new designs are in popular demand.
At this Indian fabric shop in Dandenong, saris, dresses and jewellery are normally the most popular items. In 2020, it was a new product, reusable masks.
I was working like 8 to 10 hours a day, and then I was working every day of the week.
When masks became mandatory in Melbourne, Manmeet Kaur noticed many Sikh customers were struggling to wear them.
The turban usually sits around your ears, and then you can't put the mask which has got the ear loops on.
She came up with a new design using straps that could be fitted around the head. There's also a larger pouch for people with long beards. The shop has donated thousands of masks to the Sikh community, the local council and Victoria Police. Orders are now coming in from interstate and overseas.
This country has given me a lot, and this is the time when I can serve the community.
The creation of these masks comes at a time when Australia's Sikh community is growing rapidly. According to the last census, there were 125,000 followers in the country, making Sikhism the 5th largest religion. Ms Kaur isn't the only one coming up with alternate mask designs. These Monash University medical students have created a mask with an extra flap to prevent glasses from fogging up.
We've also noticed a lot of interest from the Muslim community, so people who wear hijabs, also of course those who wear glasses, and through customer research we noticed that there are also a lot of other groups who need masks like this, so for example people who wear hearing aids.
The students have teamed up with a not-for-profit training business and will start making the masks this week.
We just thought, enough is enough, it's time to have products that cater to everybody.
While the specific rules have changed multiple times, face coverings have been required in Melbourne since July.
I think masks are going to be with us for as long as the public health advice tells us that's necessary.
With no sign of that changing anytime soon, these designers hope they can stay a cut above the rest. Christian Silva, ABC News, Melbourne.
It's been confirmed the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne has been postponed to November. The event, which is usually held in March, was put on hold due to the pandemic. But the state government says the Formula One race will now start on the 21st of November to allow more fans to attend. And Australia's cricket captain Tim Paine has apologised for his behaviour during the drawn third test against India, conceding he'd